And salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here on my YouTube channel, brought to you in part by our friends at Mint Mobile on this, the 23,762nd day since the Dallas Cowboys have won a meaningful playoff game. This is, of course, sitting over here, I'm not alone. We got Robert Meyer Burnett. Sitting back there, of course, we've got Ray Ora. Back in the corner there, we got Taylor Gonzalez. And running the show today, Jonathan Boyko. And joining us here today on this Tuesday, Christian Harloff's in here with his own desk now.
They put me in this cage. I don't know what I did.
Look at how good he looks, though.
Hey,
thanks, man.
Just since Christian, I got to give kudos. Not just one. Both New York football teams this year way overperformed, showed huge progress. I think both the Jets and the Giants are going to be teams to watch next year.
Yeah, man. 9 years. 9 years getting in the playoffs. Look, Philadelphia's a good team.
Their kid, we'll see how that goes this weekend. Anyway, guys, and it's good to have you here, most importantly. Thanks so much for making the show part of your day. Here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to talk a lot of Oscars, but we got a few things to talk about before that. So we're going to talk about all of our predetermined topics first. Then when we get later in the show, once we get to the end of our predetermined topics, normally today we would do all channel member chats today. But since it is Oscar nominee announcement day, we will open it up to the full floor and we will open up super chats once we get near the end of the main topics. Once we do, we'll announce that we're opening up the super chats and you guys will have just a couple of minutes to fire in your thoughts, theories, opinions, and questions. Try to keep it around the Oscars if you can, but if you got some other stuff, you can ask that too, and we'll go from there. Also, a little bit of housekeeping, guys. Want to remind you that you need your daily fix of the John Campea Show, and who doesn't? But you can't be in front of a YouTube video. Good news, there's an audio-only version of the show simply called the John Campea Show Podcast. Go onto your favorite podcasting app of choice, subscribe to it today, so it'll be there when you need it. All right, guys. That down, let's get into a couple of off-the-tops here, shall we, before we get to our Oscar talk. And the first one is this. You know, one of my more... when we get to the end of the year, we list our best films of the year or worst and all that kind of stuff. But in the back of my head, I like finally a little thing of my most pleasant surprise movies of the year. Maybe movies that I wasn't expecting too terribly much from, but I went into it and I ended up having a really good time. The king of that for me this year was Everything Everywhere, because I didn't know what to think of that movie till I saw it. And then it was my favorite movie of the year for like 10 months. But you know what? Another one of those lists? Violent Night. Violent Night, the little David Harbour Santa Claus movie that when we first saw the previews for it at CinemaCon back in April, I was like, come on. How many times have we seen... the Santa mythology. Oh, but it's not quite what you thought it was. Like even, who was the wrestler, Ray, that didn't Goldberg play like a violent, mean Santa or a demonic Santa at something, right? So whatever. I love David Harbour. So great. Go to see it. Is it a fabulous motion picture? No, but it was fun. I had a good time with this movie. And the whole little mythology twist they put on it, that he's actually like an old Norse Viking berserker that somehow they didn't say in this movie, maybe they'll in the next, becomes Santa Claus. Anyway, after it's a little bit of a run and people enjoying it, it apparently has now been confirmed. The filmmakers are talking about they are cracking into the script for a sequel. Now, no green light has been given yet. But I am dying to see this. There's been rumors that maybe Charlize Theron will play Mrs. Claus in the next one. They had already talked to her. I mean, what's true and what's not, I'm not sure. All I know is that I thoroughly enjoyed this movie, and I'm looking forward to see it again. Did either one of you two end up seeing Violent Night?
Not yet.
Neither of you guys did. I know you wanted to, but you never got around to it.
I think it comes out this week on physical media. I think
because it's already out on VOD.
I have a pre-order for it. But I hope they call it something clever, instead of just Violent Night 2, like Violent Night Down the Chimney or something. Not that that's a great title, but you know what I mean?
If you saw the movie, you would know how appropriate that title would be.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah. Did you heard anything about it? Like, does it even look like something that you were interested in?
100%. Yeah, I just didn't get a chance to go out and see it. I mean, for everyone said it's Die Hard, although instead of John McClane, it's Santa Claus. And I was like, okay. Yeah, and David Harbour, I mean, when he's in the right movie, he's extremely likable. He works, and I mean, he's likable in general, but he's been in a lot of like the Hellboy thing. Well, let's not talk about it. But
that movie was so bad. Here's how good and charming he is. That movie was so bad but I still really liked him in it.
Yeah, he's a
You know what I mean?
likable. He's a likable figure. There's something about. He's a reason why he pops the way he does in Stranger Things, and this doesn't surprise me. And I've heard nothing but great things about this movie, and a lot of people have told me exactly that. You would love this. You got to see it. I just didn't get a chance to at the time, but I want to see it, and it would make sense the same way that Megan's getting a sequel. Of course, the movie does really well, and it doesn't cost that much to make, and it can make you some money. People really enjoyed it, and you got a chance that there's a story to tell it. So I think this makes sense.
And John, as a genre, kind of it's a favorite genre, like bad Santa movies or Santa mythology movies, whether it's Kurt Russell, whether it's Billy Bob Thornton, whether it's Rankin and Bass, or whether it's
Goldberg.
Yeah, Heat Miser, Cold Miser. I love, as a matter of fact, there's a dream project I have called Santa Steps Out. It's a book by a guy named Robert Devereaux. It would be, I mean, it's so R-rated, be so NC-17, you probably could never do it, but someday somebody will, and it'll be glorious.
All right, guys, question is for you. Did you have a chance to go and see Violent Night? If so, what did you think about it? Do you think maybe they should just leave it alone at this point? Are you excited like I am that they're going to be doing a sequel probably? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's do another off the top, and that one is this. You know, coming off of the global phenomenal success of the Harry Potter franchise, Warner Brothers and all involved were eager to continue on making movies in that world. And so they came out with Fantastic Beasts. I didn't love the first Fantastic Beasts, and it did all right for them, you know, box office wise. The second one came out, oddly enough, I think less people liked the second one than the first. I personally thought the second one was a big improvement over the first, but I think I'm in the minority of that. Then they came out with the third one. Look, there was a lot of drama and controversy surrounding the film on like 8 different levels. But the third one comes out. I actually thought it was probably the best of the bunch.
I did too.
Yeah, I thought it was, I mean, best of the Fantastic Beasts, not the best of the Harry Potter world. I thought it was the best of the bunch, but it did not do great at all. And it left, even though there's supposed to be, I think, 3 more of them, it left the question going around, are they going to do any more? Are they going to ditch this thing? Because does David Zaslav just want, listen, Potter fans want Potter. They don't want whatever. I don't know. Well, according now to the franchise lead, Academy Award winner Eddie Redmayne, he is now saying that, looks like we're done. This is what he said specifically. He said this. The Oscar winner, 41 years old, broke the news during Friday, January 20th interview with NME when asked whether he would return for a 4th Fantastic Beasts films. This is what he said. I mean, at the moment, there's nothing that I'm aware of. The theory of everything actor explained. So as far as I'm aware, there's nothing on the cards. And I think now, while he does not come out and explicitly say, I can officially tell everybody today that the Fantastic Beasts franchise is dead. I think he just told us the Fantastic Beasts franchise was dead without directly saying. Because look, we've been suspicious of it anyway. When you have the financial returns dropping as much as it did, and again, I thought the third film was the best of the bunch, but it was a little bit too little, too late. I think at that juncture. But anyway, he says it's done. And you know what? As much as I appreciated the Fantastic Beasts films, it's time to do something else with the Wizarding World. Whether it's trying to back up that Warner Brothers dump truck of money and try to get the original cast back, whether it's another era, like maybe a story set 300 years in the past, or I don't know. It just feels like it's time to move on to something else in that Wizarding World. Rob, you heard Eddie Redmayne's comments here. What do you think of this?
Well, I mean, you know, it's funny. I thought those movies were quite imaginative, you know, and they were fun to watch because they were beautifully made, beautifully crafted movies, but they never felt, they were magical movies that lacked magic. Mm-hmm. You know, I that's the best way I can put it. I really enjoyed the cast of the movies, but they just didn't quite work the way that I wanted them to. But I have to say though, I enjoyed watching them. You know, I bought the Secret to Dumbledore. Yeah, I bought it and watched it. You know, I only watched them like once, but I have them in case people want to watch them. And I like that movie. You know, it's beautifully done, but I can understand, like you put it best, people want Potter. You know, you can try and make this movie, and I am really looking forward to this Hogwarts video game. I saw some ad for it last night. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to trying it. And I'm like, but I think as far as movies go, people want Harry Potter. They want Hermione Granger. They want Ron Weasley. That's what they want.
By the way, how good did Jude Law and Mads Mikkelsen play off each other?
Dude, they
in
were
that movie.
great.
Yeah,
They
especially
were
that
great.
opening scene in the pseudo train station thing.
That recasting of Mads Mikkelsen was brilliant.
Yeah, it was difficult, but it worked.
Yeah, it worked.
Because I thought Johnny Depp was actually quite good as the role in the second film.
He was.
Yeah.
But Mads Mikkelsen.
But Mads Mikkelsen kind of owned it, and his chemistry with Jude Law was great. Anyway, Christian, I mean,
we got a trilogy.
the franchise starts, doesn't do as big as the Potter films does, but it does respectable. The next film, not as much. The third film, financially kind of disastrous in a way. Are you surprised that it seems like they're pulling the plug on it? Do you think maybe there's a chance they could still revitalize it? And where does the Wizarding World go from here?
Well, no, I don't think there's a chance that it gets revised because declining box office every time it went out the gate. I will push back a little bit with what you guys said about the only thing people want are Harry Potter, because I don't think that was the case. I think that's the reason why people showed up to that first movie, because they were curious what else it could do. And I think the problem was that they spent too much time outside the Wizarding World. They spent too much time outside of Hogwarts. They spent too much time like that. I think a series about a young Hogwarts and things going on in the castle and things around that side could be very interesting and very intriguing, and setting up new wizards and new kids from whether it's before or after Harry. That could have been interesting. I just think that the character, Eddie Redmayne's character, was too eccentric to start to be the lead guy. I don't think that people didn't really. I love Eddie Redmayne, but that character of Newt, he wasn't extremely likable, and it's hard to get behind him right away because he's awkward and everything too. And it's not that awkward characters can't be likable, but that particular character didn't, because Harry's awkward, right, in the beginning of the movie, but there's
and yet has a lot more charisma than Newt did.
100%. And I think that the cast itself worked really well, and other things and other changes that they made. I liked the movies, by the way. I liked all three of them, but I understand why they didn't perform. And I also agree that the third one was the best, but it was too little, too late by the time it came out, because people were just like, it's not. I'm not invested, and no one went out to see it. And when no one goes out to see it, plug gets pulled.
And I agree. It doesn't have to be part. Like I said, you can go 300 years in the past.
Yeah.
But I think they do need to focus on a kid.
100%.
You know,
Yeah,
I think them trying to go the adult route which I think was a great thing to try, but I think that's maybe didn't catch on as much as others. So whatever they do, whether it's a modern day new kid 300 years ago, I don't know.
Even kids going to school with Tom Riddle at the time, he was rising up, and the stuff was happening where we always talk about in Star Wars the young Palpatine series. It's like a young. Like when Voldemort was in school, but he was a kid when he finds the journal and those things. And it doesn't have to be just about him. He could just be going to school there at that time. And there's other stuff going on, because there's a lot of adventures that are going with the dragons and other things happening that you could do with Quidditch. And the stuff that we fell in love with Harry Potter could still be there without Harry Potter.
Yeah. They even could do, I'm not usually big on origin stories, but an origin of Hogwarts itself.
Right.
Like when
That could be cool.
Like the
wizards.
four
Yeah,
wizards
yeah.
that came together to make Hogwarts and all that kind of stuff. Like that could be interesting. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Are you surprised to hear Eddie Redmayne say, yeah, it doesn't look like there's another, Fantastic Beast movies in the cards? Or were you expecting it like a lot of us? Where does the Wizarding World go from here? Because clearly it's still a cash cow. Just how do you milk it? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. What? All right.
How do you milk it? He starts laughing. I was like, take it easy.
All right. With that down, guys, let's keep milking, and we'll move on now to our Mint Mobile hotline question of the day. If you guys have a thought, theory, question, whatever for the show, and you'd like to hear your voice on the show, go ahead, grab those tights and squeeze gently until the creamy goodness of your question and inquiry comes flowing out. Call our number at 951-268-4259. Ryan Reynolds will personally gather them up in his buckets and bring it on in. So today we got a question asking about, hey, the James Cameron talk, but what about Zoe Saldana?
Hotline milk.
Hey, John and crew. This is James from Texas, and I was having a question because you did your thing yesterday breaking down the top. James Cameron going to have 3 of the top $2 billion movies. Well, also, there's another fact that Zoe Saldana now is the only actress in history to have 4 $2 billion movies that she starred in. So my question to you is, do you think that's going to raise her stock in Hollywood as a desirable actress and have her being in more films going forward? All right. Thanks, and bring on the filthy.
All right, thanks, man, for sending that in. So, okay, look, We've been talking a lot recently about, okay, so Avatar: The Way of Water has joined the $2 billion club. There's now 6 in history. James Cameron has personally done 3 of them. That's insane. And the best stat that I think we dropped yesterday was in the past 25 years, there has only been 3 motion pictures to be number 1 at the box office 6 weeks in a row. And they're all James Cameron films. Only 3 in the last 25 years. All James Cameron films. So we've been talking a lot about that. Well, there's another interesting stat. Zoe Saldana. Because if we keep that picture ready, but let's jump over to my screen for a second. As we go over these numbers, right now, Avatar: The Way of Water is sitting there at $2.026 billion in the number 6 spot of all time, passing Spider-Man No Way Home and closing in very quickly on Avengers Infinity War. So we got 4 of these films have Zoe Saldana. Avatar: The Way of Water, we got Avengers Infinity War, we've got Avengers Endgame, and we've got the original Avatar. 4 of the top 6, soon to be top 5. 4 of the top 6, well, no, because this is going to bump Avengers Infinity War. But so 4 of the top 6 films all have one actress, Zoe Saldana. That's a fabulous bit of trivia. As to the last part of the question saying, does this increase her appeal as an actress? No. And I'll tell you why. She already has tons of appeal. The industry already knows she's an incredible actress. Everybody knows what you get when you bring her onto a set. She's popular with her fans. I don't know that this becomes an interesting little thing she can put on her dossier, but I don't think it's anything that increases her profile per se, because she's already Zoe Saldana. She's great, and everybody knows it. I think, though, the main reason, and I don't mean to come across as insensitive, I think the main reason, though, we don't talk as much about, say, that figure, she's in 4 of the top 6 films of all time, as opposed to, say, James Cameron has 3 of the top 6 films of all time, is because James Cameron actually made those movies, right? Those are his creations. Those are his projects and his movies. When you write in the letter, when you call in and you say, she stars in 4 of the top 6, it depends on how you're using the term stars. She certainly appears in 4 of the top 6, some more prominently than others, but they were not Zoe Saldana vehicles, let's say. Like even Sam Worthington, Zoe Saldana, I don't know that I even call them the stars of Avatar, when really, I don't know, I hesitate to say that the CGI artists are the stars of the film or whatever, and we don't see them per se. Certainly in Avengers Endgame, she doesn't have a particularly prominent role in that. She's one of a giant, conglomeration of high-profile actors in Infinity War. So, yeah, is it amazing that one actress can say she was in 4 of the top 6 films of all time? Absolutely. But can we say, like James Cameron, who is responsible for those 3 films in particular being in the top 6 of all time, can we say that Zoe Saldana was responsible for any of those films being in the top 6? And I would say it's a different scale. I would say it's a different scale, but tremendously impressive nonetheless. Anyway, Christian, with Avatar: The Way of Water, stats and records and numbers are flying all over the place. This Zoe Saldana thing is just another one. How important and significant maybe should we look at this accomplishment of being in 4 of the top 6 films of all time?
Well, I think it's significant for sure in a lot of the ways you said. For a resume thing, sure. It's also pretty good for her bank account. That's another thing. It's also her agent should get a birthday Christmas gift for the rest of their lives.
Tom Cruise cake.
What's that?
Tom Cruise cake.
You're right. And so they anyway. So yeah, by booking her in these movies and look, she elevated. The last one, she was fantastic in that movie. I mean, so much so, I thought she was incredible in Way of Water. I think she's incredible in all of the movies.
She's always great.
She's great. I agree with you, though, because the question will be then this, right? It's like, without James Cameron, does Avatar 2 make $2 billion? If someone else does it? Probably not. He doesn't have the same vision. If Zoe Saldana, if Matt Damon was cast in that role for Sam Worthington like he was supposed to be, does it still make $2 billion? Probably.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not taking anything away from Sam Worthington. It's not taking away from anything from Zoe Saldana. It is a stat. And what it could also mean, there are a lot of, Rob, there are a lot of superstitious people in Hollywood, in sports, in anything. So maybe it's somebody going, hey, look, we got a really big movie coming out. This stat was always Saldana.
Yep.
It's pretty good, and she's fantastic. Let's put her in there and see if we can make it the 5th for her. But she's been in a lot of movies that haven't hit $2 billion.
Yeah.
So, but she's a incredible talent. I love when she shows up. She was in that terrible movie Amsterdam, and she was great in it. She was great. There's a lot of great performances in that movie. But yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean you put her in, you're going to make $2 billion. It just means she's a good talent to have, and she's going to elevate the role.
Did you ever see, I bring this movie up every once in a while. Did you ever see, not a lot of people have, but the movie she did with Idris Elba and Chris Evans called The Losers?
Yeah.
I love that movie. I think that movie is a tremendously underrated movie. She's great in it.
She's great.
Anyway, Rob, what do you think about this?
You know, I just watched, because Elizabeth was watching it, I think it's on Netflix, a show called From Scratch.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's set in Italy.
Yeah, or at least starts in Italy. Yeah.
Yes. And she was incredible in it. I find her to be, I mean, it's funny. She's very chameleon-like, and I don't mean a woman of just many colors, because she has played many different colored people in the aliens and that. I mean, she has many different facets to her performing. And I think that she's criminally underused as an actress, because
by the way, she's in Star Trek as well.
I wasn't going to say that, you know. I figured, but since you brought up Star Trek,
I would do it for you. There you go.
But no, I think she's a criminally underused actress, and I think she's kind of in a weird, space, because she's been like The Losers. That's a comic adaptation. Star Trek, Avatar, Gamora. She's great as Gamora. But I think she's a terrific dramatic actress. And I think that hopefully the fact that, look, her performance in Avatar as Neytiri is the heart of the movie. The first Avatar, especially.
She certainly steals my favorite, you and I have talked about it, my favorite moment in the movie is all her.
I mean, but when her father dies in the first one and then she gets mad at Jake and screams, it's incredible. And to think that she had that rig on her face, I mean, she's an incredible actress. And I'm hoping that maybe this great stat that people don't really think about will help her get more work, or at least help her from a producerial standpoint, because she can use her clout to get the money to make the projects that she wants to make. And I'd love to see her do more, because I think she's phenomenal.
Here's the funny thing. I don't think she's hurting for work. I think I remember we talked about this. She was mentioning that she had purposefully was scaling back the amount of stuff that she was doing, because you're right. She's one of these performers and one of these actors that has a huge range of tools available to her that she can do. She can come out and she can be funny. She can come out, she can be dramatic. She can come out, she can do action. She can, like you're saying, she's not just a good luck charm, which is a great way to put it, Christian, but on top of that, she becomes one of these multifaceted performers that, with almost any kind of movie you want to do, she can be in. And if we go to my screen for a second, she's also, look at the love. Look at the way she adores me. Look at that. Like that is a, I have this effect on women. I just cannot help it.
The lady in the back looks like she's ready to fight.
Yeah, she does. She looks like an MMA trainer.
She's ready to kick some
The one in the background.
I've seen that look. It doesn't look like adoration to me.
It does not look like adoration to me.
That lady's calling security to get John out of there.
My face looks like I just farted or something.
Yeah, and that lady in the back smelled it. She wants you out.
All right, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Listen, in the midst of all the talk about all the other stats, Zoe Saldana has very quietly become one of the performers in 4 of the top 6 box office films of all time. Should it be made a bigger deal of? I don't know. Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. And hey, also, guys, don't forget, call that hotline anytime 24/7. Maybe you'll get to hear your voice on our show as well. All right, guys. With that down, we're going to get into our Oscar talk here today. Of course, second biggest day in the calendar for movies, the biggest being Oscars. This is the second. So we're going to get into that in just a moment. But before we do, we're going to take a second and thank the great folks, our friends with a lot of Oscar winners on it, over at MasterClass. We want to thank a sponsor of this video, MasterClass. MasterClass offers classes on a wide variety of topics, all taught by world-class instructors at the very top of their fields. Each class is broken out into individual video lessons, usually around 10 minutes long. And MasterClass is completely accessible on your phone, the web, smart TV, and available via audio mode to listen to classes on the go. They have over 2,500 video lessons from over 180 of today's most brilliant minds. They're all available anytime, anywhere on iOS, Android, desktop, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, and Roku. Now, obviously, around here on the John Campea Show, we love our movies, so why not learn filmmaking from Jodie Foster, or maybe directing from Ron Howard himself, or the great Neil Gaiman doing his masterclass on the art of storytelling. And you guys have heard me talk about my favorite masterclass, Business Strategy and Leadership by Big Papa Iger himself, Bob Iger, the new and returning CEO of Disney. Guys, I highly recommend that you check it out. This holiday, give the perfect gift of an annual Masterclass membership and get one free. Go to masterclass.com/Campea today. That's masterclass.com/Campea. Terms apply. And thank you to our friends at MasterClass for putting out incredible content, guys. You definitely have to go and check them out. And by the way, guys, remember, when you support our sponsors, you're actually supporting us. So go down into the description of the video. You'll find links to all of our sponsors of today's show and their promo codes. And thank you again to MasterClass. All right, guys, with that down, it is that day. Oscar nominations went out today, and some surprises. I mean, but I would also say this. Nothing world-shaking to me. Like a few little surprises here and there.
Well,
nothing, because you got to remember my term, I don't believe there were any snubs this year. Now, you got to remember what my definition of a snub is, though. I personally think you should only apply the term snub, because that means like an egregious omission, right? I think you can only really use the word snub if the person or project in question legitimately had a chance to win. Because if it's one of the potential nominees that really didn't have a chance to win anyway, I never consider them being left off the nominee list as being a snub. Maybe an oversight, maybe not what I would have done, but I wouldn't term it as a snub. And as I look through all the lists of all the nominees, I'm seeing a couple things that surprise me a little bit, but I don't personally see anything that's a snub per se, but we'll get to those in a second. So guys, let's start going through some of these categories here, shall we? And which one should we start with? You know what? Let's go down, and I will start us off with, well, let's start with Best Animated Feature. Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, which I was asking yesterday, can that even qualify for Best Animated? But apparently they considered it did. Puss in Boots.
Yeah.
It is time for Puss. The Sea Beast, and my personal favorite animated film of the year, Turning Red. Interesting. Like if you had asked anybody a year ago if you thought Lightyear would have been on this list, I mean, this is before anybody saw it, I think everybody would have said, oh, of course Lightyear is going to be on. Well, no, thank you. Turning Red is my favorite, but I don't think there's much of a question here. Guillermo, like I did not love it myself personally. I liked it, but I didn't love it. But any disagreement that Del Toro's Pinocchio is going to win here?
Oh,
Rob?
No, as I'm looking at this list, and no, I think it's probably going to win. However, and all deference to Taylor, I think that in maybe Marcel the Shell with Shoes On could be an upset.
could be a dark horse on that.
Could be a dark horse.
I love that movie. I love that movie. I don't understand how the hell it's in the animated at all. There's humans running around that damn thing the whole time. And would Roger Rabbit have been considered an animated film? I don't know. But it could also be considered a live action film, I guess. But
like, how is this an animated film, but the Lion King remake was not an animated
So
film?
if I'm going to do a who will win, who should win, my both is who will win will be Pinocchio, and who should is Pinocchio. I loved Pinocchio, so I think both of those for me.
By the way, two of those on that list that you never would have thought a year ago would be the hype, but like Puss in Boots was, again, another one of those real super pleasant surprise movies for me. I ended up loving it. And Turning Red, again, to me, I thought that was the best animated film. There's so many great films on there this year.
The Sea Beast is really cool. It's really, I was surprised to see that get that. I mean, I wasn't surprised because it's great, but it was cool that they gave it a nod.
All right, let's move on here to best visual effects. All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, The Batman, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and Top Gun: Maverick. Again, I mean, a year ago, if you would have said what would be on here, you certainly would have said a Thor movie. You certainly would have said a Doctor Strange. I have no qualms with any of the nominees here, but this is the second easiest lock of the Oscars this year. And that is Avatar: The Way of Water is going to win Best Visual Effects. I mean, they're already engraving the name.
What a sham if it doesn't.
Yeah,
what
it's a complete sham if it doesn't.
I mean, even people who don't like the movie or wanted to hate it beforehand, it was like, well, I know it's going to look amazing. It's going to be a spectacular thing to see on the screen, but I don't want to see it. But that's what everyone says leading into it. It's one of the best visual achievements. The first two are the first. It's such an incredible theatrical experience. The way it looks, everything about it, it has to win.
And it immerses you, right?
Yeah.
It's not just pretty. Like when a lot of times they're underwater, you feel like you're they immerse you in it.
Well, I think one of the things that's amazing about both Avatar films is nothing that you're looking at in the natural world is real. All of it's designed, the entire biosphere of Pandora. And when you're looking at these shots underwater, I mean, I'm looking at a four-eyed whale, and it's absolutely convincing. That four-eyed whale doesn't exist in nature. They made it up.
And they give it life, and they give it a spirit, and it's...
I mean, the flying creatures, it's just insanity.
It's also nominated for Best Animated Film.
See? I think there's a strong argument for that. All right, we're going to skip... We're not going to go over every single category, so we're going to jump over production design, even though that's not important at all. We just don't have the time to go over everything. Interesting one, Best Original Song. Applause from Tell It Like a Woman, Hold My Hand from Top Gun Maverick by Lady Gaga, Lift Me Up from Black Panther: Wakanda Forever by Rihanna, Natu, which is not one of the songs of the Ewoks. It's from RRR. This Is a Life from Everything Everywhere All at Once. Interesting list. I've got one in my head that I thought...
It's a snub. This to me is a snub.
Which
it
one?
is something I think could have won, and that's Taylor Swift for Where the Crawdads Sing.
Yes,
I think
I'm surprised that one didn't get on
this was
there.
a major mistake by the Academy for not nominating this for a lot of different reasons. One, it's a great song, and it had a chance to win, so that's why I think that it is a snub.
Right.
Because if you look at all the things that she was doing on the Golden Globes, plus you could have had her perform at the Oscars, and you could have gotten a young audience in to watch the Oscars, and that's what they need. And by not nominating her, because, again, not just because it was a deserved nomination, that was a mistake. That to me was the biggest snub of the Oscars in your category.
Right, the one who legit...
Plus, you could have put Lady Gaga and Taylor Swift together in some
100%.
thing where they could have done a duet and sung each
Very
other's
stupid by the
songs.
Academy.
Now, in their defense, because like you were saying, it's a song that deserved it. It deserved it.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't vote for her just so you can have her on stage
No,
with
I
Lady
know.
Gaga.
No, if it
deserved it.
And it's like, and there was a chance that this thing could have got nominated or I mean, could have won. And you see all the other accolades that it was getting. It's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? My daughter would have watched. She's 11 years old, and she didn't care.
I remember at I think it was the Country Music Awards or something like that. It was a couple of years ago, but they had Justin Timberlake and Chris Stapleton on stage together. And like they did this performance together that to me is like one of my favorite live performances I've seen in a long time. And I was not necessarily a big Justin Timberlake or Chris Stapleton fan before that, but it created this moment that has buzzed and resonated for a long time. If they could have had the Oscars where like Lady Gaga and Taylor Swift came out on stage together and together as a duet sang both of their individual songs.
Dude.
Or one sings the other one.
Or I mean, it would have been must-see TV for everybody, right?
Yeah.
But it didn't get a nomination.
Dummies.
What do you think's going to win?
I'm thinking Lift Me Up is going to win. That or the Gaga song. So, but RRR only got one Oscar nomination. And that was for Best Original Song. And when you watch videos, look, that's not a movie for me. But when you watch these viral videos on YouTube of like that song coming on in the movie and people in the movie theater getting up and dancing in the aisles, I mean, it's hard to deny that sort of a phenomenon.
That song is
right?
a banger, dude. It's a banger. And, never count out Bollywood, or actually Tollywood in the case of RRR. I wouldn't be surprised if it wins. At least it'll be a good showstopper on the show. All
right, we move now on to Best Film Editing. The Banshees of Inisherin, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Tar, and Top Gun Maverick. I think this is going to go to Everything Everywhere All at Once. Like this was a story. You can say this about a lot of movies, but it's especially true here. Everything Everywhere All at Once was a story told in the edit bay. Like it was just the frantic nature of it. It slowed when it needed to slow. Top Gun Maverick has also got to be up there as well. Banshees of Inisherin, but I think it comes down to Everything Everywhere All at Once and Top Gun. I'm going to lean for Everything Everywhere. Rob, what do you think?
I gotta say that not having Avatar: Way of Water in this category, I think is a snub, because part of the success of Cameron's films is the masterful editing. Every one of his movies, the shot choices. I understand all of those are very worthy. They're very worthy, but I can't believe that Avatar: Way of Water didn't get into that category. But I will say this: the editing in Elvis is unbelievable.
It's hard for a
it's-
Baz Luhrmann film to not get editing.
And
Yeah.
sometimes, I mean, you could make the case that it's over edited, maybe, but like Everything Everywhere All at Once, which also is a master class in editing, this is a tough category. Because Top Gun Maverick, the action scenes are brilliantly executed. I love Tar. Tar's, I think, my favorite movie of the year, and the editing in that film is incredible. So this is a rough category, but I'm with you. I think Everything Everywhere All at Once, because if you watch that film, the way some of those montages where they're cutting between time periods,
Oh yeah.
universes, it's just
And they string it together so well that I never once felt, wait a minute, where are we now? Like it just all, even when they're doing the ridiculous sausage fingers things, I'm like, nope, this is just flowing. The edit is so perfect.
Although this is a tough category too, because a lot of the editing is showy. Like Elvis is showy. It's a tough one. Whereas Banshees of Inisherin goes the opposite direction.
Yeah.
But this is a tough category.
I mean, but honestly, like, okay, Top Gun, I get it, but just think about the effort it took to stitch all of those shots from jets, fighters, all the shots.
Oh, dude.
What is it? 800
create
hours of footage.
every scene and make it-
800
And
hours of
that's just
footage.
aerial photography.
Yeah.
Christian, what do you think there's a standout winner here? Do you think there's anything significantly missing? What do you think?
I think I agree with Rob. I think Avatar: Way of Water. I think that's going to be a common thread for this show. Is that there's a couple of times Avatar: Way of Water was missing, and editing is one of those. But I still don't think that it would win over Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think that you're right. I think the way that film was edited and the thing that it had to do in order to tell that story that could be pretty confusing for people if they're kind of, what the hell is this all about? And the way that those shots are put together, the way that it tells the story. I think that there's something about that movie, the editing, everything made that movie special, but there's something about the editing. I agree with you though. Top Gun Maverick, I wouldn't, any of the choices that are up there, I wouldn't be like, I don't know, see how that one for that. But I think Everything Everywhere All at Once is the standout for now.
By the way, oh, go ahead, Rob.
Oh, I was just going to say, but if you think about Avatar: Way of Water, they had to cut that movie without finished shots.
Right.
Yeah.
They were cutting motion capture shots. I can't even, I think about it as an editor myself, and I'm just like, I can't even imagine what that was like.
All right. Now, before we move on with the different categories, let's jump over to the classroom for a second. I just want to give a heads up on kind of who were the big winners of nomination day. Okay, so we're looking at Top Gun 2 had 6 nominations. We have The Fabelmans ended up with 7 nominations. We have Elvis ended up with 8 nominations. Then we had All Quiet on the Western Front with 9 nominations, as well as Banshees of Inisherin also ended up with 9 nominations. And Everything Everywhere All at Once led the Oscars with 11 nominations. Everything Everywhere leads the way with 11 nominations. So now, just to give us a bit of a context of how that kind of broke down. All right, so let's move on in our categories here. We're going to skip over documentary short and documentary feature. We're going to go to best cinematography. This is an interesting one. We got All Quiet on the Western Front, Bardo, False Chronicle of a Handful of Truths, which I have not seen. Elvis, Empire of Light, which is, of course, DP'd by the great Roger Deakins, and Tar. This is an interesting one that Top Gun did not get nominated for.
Yeah, I'm blown away by that.
I thought this was going to be the one where it dominated, but obviously not.
Obviously not. It's hard with this particular list to not go with All Quiet on the Western Front. I don't know, Rob, what do you think?
It's tough. I mean, you know, Elvis was I haven't seen Empire of Light, and it's the great Roger Deakins, you know, teaming up with Sam Mendes again.
It's not a great film. It's got a handful of brilliant performances, but the cinematography is gorgeous.
That's what I've heard. Look, again, I think the cinematography in Tar is great, but All Quiet on the Western Front. And I have to say, don't count Darius Kanji out, because that dude, Bardo, I loved Bardo. A lot of people, they didn't dig it, but the photography is amazing. I mean, Darius Kanji shot 7.
So who wins?
You know, I'm going to go with Elvis.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, it was beautifully shot. The movie's absolutely beautiful.
There's just so much of it, but it wouldn't surprise me if Bardo won, but probably All Quiet too. I mean, it's a tough one.
Christian, what do you think?
I think it's clear. I think All Quiet on the Western Front. When I agree, I think Top Gun and Avatar, both of them would have been interesting to see. But I think out of all, and I probably still would have said All Quiet on the Western Front. It's just it's shot masterfully.
How did it compare to 1917? Visually,
It really had. I mean, obviously the subject matter there's a lot of similarity, but I found stylistically it has its very own. It had its own look.
Yeah, I mean,
separate.
1917 has much more verisimilitude than because All Quiet has a lot of visual effects in it too, so it has its own, like you said, its own look.
All right, so that is cinematography. We now move on to Best Original Screenplay. Banshees of Inisherin. Everything, oh, look at the lineup here. Banshees of Inisherin. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. The Fabelmans. Tar. Triangle of Sadness. This is one of the most competitive. I'm going to call. I know I use sports terminology a lot. This is one of the most competitive divisions this year. This is to me a coin toss year on several levels. I honestly will not fall out of my chair with shock if any of these end up getting it. I think it's going to end up being Banshees of Inisherin. But again, Tar could win. I'm not going to blink. Triangle of Sadness could win. I'm not going to blink. But I'm going to go with Banshees of Inisherin on this. Christian, what do you think?
I think it's a 2-horse race between Everything Everywhere All at Once and Banshees. I think that I agree that if any one of them won, okay. But I think out of the two that I'm expecting, it's either going to be Banshees or Everything Everywhere All at Once. I'm one of the few people that didn't love Banshees, and I know that I'm in the minority. But I can't. It's a very well written script, and it'll probably win.
You know, Rob, I love one of the things I love about this time of year. It's kind of the same as when we're putting together our top 10 lists. Like, we start going through all these movies, like, damn, this was really a good year in film. And Best Original Screenplay thing really kind of sets it up. Which one wins?
Brutal list. Again, I love that. I love Todd Field's script for Tar, but I'm with Christian. It's a 2-horse race between Everything Everywhere and Banshees. And it really, you know, it's interesting because I would give maybe the edge to Banshees only because from a writing standpoint, people tend to, in the Academy, shy away from more fantasy-based stuff. They prefer more realism. And in that,
at least traditionally they have.
Yes, traditionally. And that's why I would give the slight edge to Banshees of Inisherin. But Everything Everywhere All at Once is wildly original. So, that was a tough, I can't even imagine what it was like to try and write that script. You had the directors writing it together. Like, did they know where they were when they were writing every time? I mean, I'd love to be a fly on the wall in that room.
All right. Now we go into its sibling category. The category of Best Adapted Screenplay. I personally find adapted screenplays to be even more impressive than original, because original, you can do anything you want. Adapted, you've got these other constraints. And we've got All Quiet on the Western Front, Glass Onion, A Knives Out Mystery, Living, Top Gun Maverick, Women Talking. All right, I will say this. I was an advocate for Top Gun Maverick getting a Best Picture nomination. You know, I've been saying that for a while. Top Gun should get, I even brought in a friend of mine to make the case that Top Gun should be nominated for Best Picture. That being said, one of my biggest surprises of the Oscar nominees this year is not something that was left off the list. It was something that is included. Top Gun Maverick does not deserve a screenplay nomination. With all the great things about that movie and the fantastic final product and the incredible experience of the theater, I do not believe at all it deserves one of these spots for best screenplay. Who are they attacking again? Don't worry about it. We don't need to write that.
The guys.
I mean, the guys, those guys, whatever. I'm just saying, okay, at this point, Goose's son's going to walk in. Great. Well, he's not going to like be wearing his dad's shirt. Oh yeah, it totally is. But he won't be wearing his dad's sunglasses. Oh yeah, totally will be. But he's not going to be a piano player. Oh yeah, he is. Well, he's not going to play the exact same song that he played. Oh yeah, he's going to play the exact same song. This does not deserve a screenplay nomination. It deserves a lot of credit. It's one of the best films of the year. It was on my top 10 of the year list. Doesn't deserve it. I think Glass Onion honestly deserves this. And I don't think it should win Best Picture, but I think Glass Onion is a wonderfully frantic, interwoven, complex, character-driven script that has heavy doses of fantastic, witty, quick dialogue. I don't think it will win, but that's my pick. And I honestly, other than that, I think maybe Women Talking. I think Women Talking might actually end up taking the best script one. Rob, which one do you see winning out of this?
Well, first of all, I think it's pretty cool that Chris McQuarrie, he won his first Oscar in 1995 for Usual Suspects at the 96 Oscars. So it's 28 years later, and he gets another Oscar nod for a screenplay, even though he's directing Mission Impossible movies and probably doesn't need it. I think Living's going to win.
It is a wonderful adaptation.
It is, and I'll tell you something. Kazuo Ishiguro is a novelist, and I mean that guy. He's an incredible writer, and to adapt Kurosawa is pretty audacious. Actually, it's based on a novel that Kurosawa didn't write, but the Akira was based on a novel. So again, he's adapting. You have a novelist adapting another novelist. I think it's going to win.
By the way, we'd be remiss if, like, when we're talking here about best adapted screenplay, best original screenplay, maybe someday you want to see your name at the Oscars on one of these big screenplay things. Your first step to that kind of success is to send your script.
Don't say it.
To Robert Meyer Burnett. He's a star hunter. He's out there hunting for stars. He's looking for you right now. Send Robert Meyer Burnett your scripts, and maybe your name can be on that adapted screenplay list at some time.
No.
All right. Let's continue on, shall we?
I think All Quiet on the Western Front will win.
Oh, I totally forgot.
Here's what you think. Let's move on.
Christian, who should win best adapted screenplay?
No, it's good. Move on.
All Quiet on the Western Front it is.
Talk about snubs.
Unbelievable.
I don't have a
sitting
very
in the
big
corner.
attention span. I don't know if anybody's noticed that. All right. Get on to Best Supporting Actor. Best Supporting Actress, just to say, Angela Bassett for Black Panther Wakanda Forever, Hong Shao for The Whale, Carrie Condon for The Banshees of Inisherin, Jamie Lee Curtis for Everything Everywhere All at Once, Stephanie Hsu for Everything Everywhere All at Once. And, I said a little bit earlier that I think the second most guaranteed lock this year is Avatar winning Best Visual Effects. Maybe third biggest lock. We'll get to the biggest. Maybe the third biggest lock of the year is Angela Bassett is going to win Best Supporting Actress here, which is super significant for a number of reasons. But one of which is, from a populist pop culture point of view, this is going to be, well, she already is the first Marvel actor in a Marvel film to be nominated for any acting award. But this would obviously then be the first win for a Marvel film to have a performance win at that award. Listen, I loved Carrie Condon and Banshees of Inisherin. I love Jamie Lee Curtis and Stephanie and Everything Everywhere All at Once. I don't think Shao really should have been on this list, to be honest with you. But maybe I'm just trying to compare on the sliding scale to how brilliant Brendan Fraser's performance was. But look, listen, this is Angela Bassett's award. She deserves it. She was the best part to me of that movie. It's the one thing that I thought was even better. Her role and her performance was the one thing in the Black Panther sequel that I thought elevated and was better than it was in the original film. Of course, she had more to do in this. Anyway, Christian, I'm calling this one a lock, but do you think it's going to be Angela Bassett? If not, who would you kind of point to as maybe being the one dark horse in this?
Carrie Condon is the one dark horse, but it's a real outside shot. I think that it's hilarious because I remember a bunch of us, after seeing Black Panther Wakanda Forever, was like, look, this is an could be an Oscar nominated / winning performance. And I can't even tell you how many comments come in. You're crazy. No chance. No way. And then she's winning everything. She's winning everything. Critics' Choice, Golden Globes. I mean, everything. So this is one of those times, and it doesn't always mean anything. I point to Stallone, but when an actor is consistently nominated and wins, the chances are, on other awards, the chances are that you could probably lock this in. And like I said, it has happened before when that has happened, and then the Stallone of it all where it doesn't happen. But I think this is one of those cases. Angela Bassett wins pretty easy.
And by the way, if when the SAGs come, if she does win the SAG, which I think we're all anticipating she will, I mean, I think you just put the money in the bank at that point. Anyway, Rob, we're looking at this. I think you agree that Angela Bassett is clearly the front runner, but if you had to say somebody was a dark horse that could surprise us,
I think Carrie Condon because of the movie, because of Banshees of Inisherin. I have to say, John, I developed a mad crush on Angela Bassett when she was in Catherine Bigelow's Strange Days.
Oh, I love that movie.
In 95.
Love it.
She's taking care of Lenny Nero, Ray Fiennes' character, and that movie's on HBO Max now, and I've watched it twice. Even though I own the Blu-ray, I've watched it twice on HBO Max. Man, do I love Angela Bassett, and my crush has gone unabated for 28 years, and I want to see her. I want to see her take that statue home for the performance she gave in Strange Days. But she'll get it for Wakanda Forever, and I can't wait to see it.
All right, let's move on here. We move on to another really loaded category: Best Supporting Actor. Brendan Gleeson for The Banshees of Inisherin. Brian Tyree Hill. That's a surprise to me. That one is a surprise to me, but a rather pleasant one, actually. Like, I would not have been surprised had he not ended up on the list, but he's had a very good year. Like, between the final season of Atlanta, his incredible, I think Bullet Train put him on the radar for a lot of people.
He is so good in Bullet Train.
Oh, him and Kick-Ass. I keep forgetting. What's Kick-Ass names again?
Aaron Taylor
Johnson. I'm always freezing his. Him and Aaron Taylor Johnson as the brothers. Doesn't even have to be the brothers. I would watch a prequel with just the brothers. I would watch any other movie you want to make with just these two acting together. It's fantastic. Anyway, Judd Hirsch for The Fabelmans. A little bit of a Dame Judi Dench situation here where Hirsch is really not in the movie much.
Right.
And like very, very little, but his scenes, he kind of gobbles them like heavy. So I got no problem with it. Barry Keoghan for The Banshees of Inisherin and Ki-Hu Kwan for Everything Everywhere All at Once. I have been saying that I think the one who's going to take this, and I think the safe money, is Brendan Gleeson for Banshees of Inisherin, and he very well could. But you were pointing this out. This other guy is winning everything, and it's Ki-Hu Kwan. He is winning everything. And I think now you got to look at him as the front runner. Anyway, Christian, any disagreement when I say I think it's probably Brendan Gleeson and Ki-Hu Kwan as the two front runners?
That's the two horse race again, but I think a couple of weeks ago I probably would have said Brendan Gleeson would be the one who was in the lead, but I agree. I think Ki-Hu Kwan is close to a lock at this point. I think he's close to a lock. I think because not only because of the performance, and it's a well-deserved performance, people like a comeback story. And I think that you look at this isn't
even a comeback story. This is a resurrection.
It's a resurrection, but it's also that people don't forget that the awards are also about politicking and campaigning and doing it to get your name out there so people know the story. And he has been doing a brilliant job of doing that. He's everywhere, and not in an obnoxious way, in a way of like, oh yeah, he's so good that he's back, and people are going to check out the movie now. He's going to be in a Marvel movie coming up now too. So he's doing it right. I think he wins. I think this is one you could, if you were going to Vegas and you're going to put down some money, you're probably going to win when you put it down on this guy.
All right.
The funny thing, just talking about politicking, is like Spielberg would love for him to win, but it's going up against one of his movies.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. All right, and one of his actors. Yeah. All right, next up, we get into Best Lead Actress. All right, I said what I thought was the number 2 easiest lock and the number 3 easiest lock. This is your number 1 lock of the Oscars. Nominated for Best Actress is Cate Blanchett for Tar, Ana de Armas for Blonde, Andrea Riseborough for To Leslie, Michelle Williams for The Fabelmans, Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once. I would really I think it would be a terrific story for Michelle Yeoh to win this Academy Award. And she has a shot. It is a 2-horse race. But it's number 1 way over here and number 2 way back here, because this is your 100% Oscar 2023 ironclad guarantee. Kate Blanchett is winning Best Lead Actress for that. Then it's Michelle Yeoh, and then it's the rest of the very good field, but way behind those two. But it's going to be Kate Blanchett. I don't know, Christian, what do you think?
I'll tell you this, that Kate Blanchett will win. Absolutely. And before this, can you bring up that list one more time, Jonathan? Sorry. So the thing is, of all these performances, they're all great. About a month ago, I had never heard of To Leslie. Never heard of it. I got reached out about the movie to watch the movie because Andrea Riseborough was going to come in for an interview. And she sat down and we talked to her. I watched the movie beforehand. I feel out of all these performances, and yes, it's a bias after being able to have to see it, talk to her, I think Andrea Riseborough has the strongest performance out of all of them, and I'll tell you why. Because Kate Blanchett is fantastic and will win and should win. It's Kate Blanchett. I definitely see what she was able to do and the way she transformed herself inside of that. I saw that Kate Blanchett thing, though, where you've seen Kate Blanchett do in the past. Andrea Riseborough is from this little town in England. She plays a woman from Texas with this addiction, and there's in no world do you think that she's from England. No world. She transforms herself into Leslie. It was a absolutely riveting performance. The movie struck me when I saw it, and I think there's no way she wins, but I think she should win, but she won't. It'll be Kate Blanchett.
Rob, who do you see as the front runners here?
Well, I mean, obviously, my girl in my movie, Tar, which I love. I mean, I thought she was amazing in it, but I have not seen the Andrea Riseborough film.
Good. Nobody has. That's
but it was interesting that she made that list. And the fact that she got into this list leads me to believe that there's a lot of people out there that voted for her, in terms of nominations. So that could be a dark horse candidate. But Michelle Yeoh also has a shot, I think. But I do think Kate Blanchett is going to take it.
All right. We move on now to a not so lock, but a couple of the clear front runners. Best Lead Actor. This one, I think, is the strongest three-horse race in any of the categories. So our nominees for Best Lead Actor were Austin Butler for Elvis, Colin Farrell for The Banshees of Inisherin, Brendan Fraser for The Whale, Paul Mescal for After Sun, Bill Nighy for Living. Look, all due respect to every other performer, every other contender, every other shortlister, and the other two nominees. But this is a Colin Farrell, Austin Butler, Brendan Fraser three-horse race. I can see any of these three easily getting their names read. I could easily see the end of the night coming, and Brendan Fraser or Brendan Gleeson and Colin Farrell are standing on stage together with their two Oscar wins. I mean, I could easily see that. I could see Austin Butler walking with what he did in Elvis. I didn't love the movie. I enjoyed Elvis.
Right.
But what he did in Elvis was inspiring. It really was inspiring. And then Brendan Fraser, he turns in the performance of a career with The Whale. Again, not a movie I loved, but his performance is undeniable. By a slim margin, I'm going to say Colin Farrell takes this. I mean, what he did in this movie, by the way, this entire year for Colin Farrell was next level, because not only did he have The Banshees of Inisherin, he turned in another mind-blowing performance with Penguin.
Yep.
And then he had that smaller independent film near the end of the year, and I'm freezing on the title of it, about the family of the android.
After Yang.
After Yang, which, I mean, this was Farrell's year. So I could see that happening. I think it's a three-horse race. Rob, how do you see this?
I'm with you on this. I think Colin Farrell's going to win, only because Banshees of Inisherin is more along the lines. Again, the showy performance is like Austin Butler was great as Elvis. But again, it was a very heightened performance. It's not traditional. And whereas Brendan Fraser and Colin Farrell are playing more traditional characters in terms of what actors do. So I think Colin Farrell takes it. But I do want to give a shout out to Paul Mescal for getting on this list, because After Sun is a great movie. It wasn't something that was really on my radar, but man, he's great in it. It's a really heartwarming, wonderful film. And I'm kudos to him for making the list. But Bill Nighy, I'm just saying, I love Living, and while he's not going to win, all of these performances are showstoppers.
By the way, I love seeing him, Bill Nighy, getting some recognition. I have been a huge fan of his ever since Underworld, when he played one of my favorite screen villains, like in the last couple of decades, when he played Victor in that, even though they kind of misused the character as they went through. I just love seeing him getting some kudos. And of course, being Sean's dad in Shaun of the Dead, or a stepdad.
and for
Pirates of the Caribbean, like you name it.
You know, in the Christmas movie, why am I drawing a blank? I love it.
Love
Actually.
Love Actually.
Don't buy drugs. Become a pop star when they give them to you for free.
Christian, I think this is a great one. I could see any one of these top three. Should we be including a fourth, or do you think we should narrow it down to two?
No,
How
I
do you
think
see
the 3-horse race is accurate. Any one of those performances, and you're going to go, yeah, I can see why they chose it. I'll be the difference in the room. I think Brendan Fraser will still get it. I think he's the one that's, and similar to what I just said before with Kei Kwan, I think that it's the comeback story. It is the campaigning, the politicking, how much you cannot find, even if you didn't like The Whale, and there's been a lot of criticisms on that movie, you can't find anyone who says anything negative about Brendan Fraser. He is beloved. Yeah. And the fact that he came back, this is one of those things where you could see the two of them. You mentioned Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson perhaps standing. There's going to be a shot, I think, that is very possible of the two of those guys standing together.
Yeah,
comeback
Key
story.
Brendan.
Yeah, Key and Brendan standing together with statues.
I wouldn't bet against it.
So because of that story alone, I think that just the edge. But Colin Farrell wins it. I'd be like, yeah, I can see it. And the same goes for Austin Butler. Great performances.
All right. We get into the final two categories here. Best director. I think this is a 2-horse race personally, but we'll see. Martin McDonagh for The Banshees of Inisherin. Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert for Everything Ever All at Once. Steven Spielberg for The Fabelmans. Todd Field for Tar. Ruben Östlund for Triangle of Sadness. Very, very, to me, the most noticeable by its absence is James Cameron for Avatar. I mean, we talked about the other day, that movie is just, I'm not going to call it snub because I don't think he had a serious chance of winning. But that movie is all direction. Yeah. I mean, that whole movie is just all direction. And I'm a little bit surprised to see him not on here. But that being said, I do think this is a 2-horse race. It's Steven Spielberg and it's Martin McDonagh. And I think it goes to Steven Spielberg. To me, Fabelmans is the best film of the year. But what he was able to do, you want to see a master storyteller? Take a quiet movie and make it something you can't take your eyes off of. He was able to tell, I mentioned this the other day, a very deeply personal story, while at the same time, me as an audience member, I'm recognizing a lot of stuff and feeling nostalgia for a lot of stuff because there are themes he brings into it, this very personal story that feels very universal at the same time. And by the time the credits rolled on this movie, I was inspired. My heart felt full. I mean, just what he was able to do and navigate it. Again, Martin McDonagh for Banshees of Inisherin, all of them try directing Everything All at Once. And by the way, here's the other thing. I always say that the number one responsibility of a director, yes, is the overall production of the film and blah. The next biggest important job that a director has is get the best performances out of your actors. That's the number, other than the movie as a whole, that is their number one job. Everything Ever All at Once has 1, 2, 3, 4 acting nominations. 4. So you gotta give them credit as maybe the third in this race, right? But I'm gonna go Spielberg on this. Rob, what do you think?
I gotta go with McDonagh, I think. I mean, with Banshees making so much hay for what it's done, I think that movie is going to sweep. I honestly do. And I think he's going to get a director nod. But then again, Spielberg and the Daniels, and look, I'd love to see Todd Field win too, but he won't, but I'd love to see him because his last film was Little Children, and I love that too. And this is a tough category, man.
To be nominated in a field directing with Steven Spielberg in a movie about filmmaking at the Academy Awards, if you win it, you really deserve to win it.
Yeah.
Yeah, then you got it. Anyway, Christian, there's a lot of interesting names on here. I don't know, which way do you think this is going to go?
Well, we'll say the two that I think they were missing were the one that you mentioned for sure with James Cameron. I think Sarah Polley for Women Talking also.
Right, that was another one that was in the running.
I'm very surprised she didn't get nominated because of all the talk for that movie in general. And I thought I would have said she was locked to get nominated. So I was very surprised she didn't get nominated. But I think that Yeah, I would say I actually think Banshees is going to be one of those movies. I might be wrong, but I think Banshees is going to be one of those movies that people like Rob, rightfully so, think are going to sweep, and it's going to wind up not delivering the way that they think it is. I don't think
Could be.
Banshees. I think that's possible. I think that it's between Everything Ever All at Once, Fablemans, but I think Spielberg gets it. Yeah.
All right. And by the way, as we get to the end of the individual nominations, just for those of you watching who may not understand, the way nominations work at the Academy Award is the Academy as a whole does not come up with the nominations. With the Academy, there are a number of different branches of the Academy. There's an actor's branch, there's a music branch, there's a director's branch, there's a writer's branch, and on and on and on and on and on. And the members of those branches are the ones who come up with the nominees. So the actors are the ones who came up with the acting nominees. The director's branch are the ones who came up with the directing nominees, and so on and so forth. And then once the nominees are put forward, then everybody will vote on the winner. The whole Academy will vote on the winners, but the nominees are come up by the individual branches, except for one award, the one we're getting into right now, the big one, Best Picture. This is something that everybody comes up with, the 10 nominees, and here are the nominees this year. All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar, The Way of Water, Banshees of Inisherin, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fablemans, Tar, Top Gun Maverick, Triangle of Sadness, and Women Talking. Powerful, powerful, powerful lineup this year for Best Picture. One or two little ones that differ from my list, not too much. I think the top 5 or 6 picks are the ones that are all there. I think we all expected to see Avatar, Banshees, Elvis, everything, Fablemans. I think Tar, Top Gun, we've been making the argument that it was going to be on there. This is tough. I think this is a 3-horse race. I think this is Fablemans, Everything Everywhere, and the Banshees of Inisherin. Look, we're going to know about 2 hours into the Oscar telecast.
Yeah.
Because we're going to get a sense about 2 hours in whether Banshees gets that ball of momentum going. If Banshee starts knocking down screenplay, supporting actor, this, that, if it starts knocking those pins down, then I think it's going to become really clear when it's going to be pretty anticlimactic when we get there. But like you said, I don't think it's going to go that way, Christian. So I think it's still going to be a question mark when we get there. I say it goes to the Fablemans. I think it's a Hollywood kind of movie. I think it's an absolutely brilliant movie. I think this is the second year in a row Steven Spielberg has had the best film of the year. But I would not put any money against the Banshees of Inisherin. I would not put any money. Everything Ever All at Once is leading the pack. They have more nominations than anybody else. I would not bet against them. Elvis would be a surprise to me. Tar would be a surprise. Top Gun would be a big surprise. Triangles of Sadness would be a surprise. When I still think it's that 3-horse race. Christian, who are the front runners here?
Front runners are Fablemans, Everything Ever All at Once, and Banshees. Those are the 3. I'm actually going to go with Everything Ever All at Once. I think it's going to wind up winning.
Has most nominations.
Yeah, that's why I think it's going to win, and I think it's going to have that big kind of feel good story at the end. Again, who I want to win, I want Top Gun to win. There's no chance. Top Gun and Avatar were my 2 favorites, my first 2 favorites of the year, and Everything Ever All at Once was in my top 5 as well. So I think that this movie is going to take it for sure. There's other ones that I'd love to see a big surprise, but when it comes to Best Picture, it's very rare that it's like something comes out of nowhere and does it. You kind of, like you said, it's between X, Y, and Z, and I think Everything Ever All at Once takes it.
By the way, we're just talking about 2 hours into the show, you'll feel that's not just Banshees of Inisherin, because for Everything Everywhere, we might start seeing that wave going too. Like if it knocks down 1 or 2 of the acting awards, the screenplay, stuff like that, if it starts knocking those down and going in, we might all want to put our money on something else. Rob, I don't think the one film on this list that has no chance, I think, is probably Avatar. Has no chance of winning because I don't believe there's ever been a time in history. There's only been twice, I believe, and somebody can fact check me on this. I think there's only been 2 times in Oscar history when a Best Picture nominated film had no nominations in director, actor, actress, supporting actress, adapted or original screenplay. I think only twice in history, a film without any nominations in any of those categories ended up getting a nomination, and I don't think any of them have ever won. So when you look at that and you see that Avatar is lacking any nominations in all those, the major categories, I think that makes it probably the last one to come up. I think it's a guarantee there. But who do you see winning?
I honestly think I'm with Christian on this. I think that Everything Everywhere All at Once is going to wind up taking it, because at the end of the day, everybody's voting for this. And I think a lot of people, there's some people that don't dig Banshees of Inisherin. They're like, I get it. It was a metaphor for the Irish Troubles or this, that, or the other thing. But Everything Everywhere All at Once is a fun movie. It's joyful, which is why I'm going to say something I think that people are going to think I'm crazy for.
All right.
But I'm going to say it. I think Top Gun Maverick has a shot to win Best Picture. I think it's going to be everybody now, it depends how fuddy-duddy the Academy is, but because everybody gets to vote, I think that there might be a possible way, if the older voters of the Academy are shut out and the younger voters said, you know what, this is what brought movies back from the pandemic. Now, I know I'm crazy to say this, but
Preach.
it would be interesting. It would be an
Christian's in the back row with his hands up in the air.
Because, you know what?
He's taking this
If
in.
Banshees of Inisherin wins, I think if Everything Everywhere All at Once wins, it'll be a big deal. You know what? But if Top Gun Maverick were to win this, and people just decided, because it's the only award it's going to win, and it's a movie that everybody loved, and it made $1.5 billion, it's the kind of thing that people might vote, and it might be this one time. It would be one of the great moments in Oscar history. You'd have Tom Cruise and Jerry Bruckheimer, and everybody would love
Tom Cruise would fly in on a jet.
Yeah, everybody would love it. Nobody would say. Psh. The only person I think that would really dislike it is Jeffrey Wells, but everybody else would love it.
All right. Going to rain in your parade a little bit here.
It's never going to happen, I know.
So we were just talking about how Avatar shut out of all those major things, right? So, and I would consider the major awards, the 4 acting categories, the 2 screenplay categories, director and cinematography. I believe Top Gun only has one of those nominations, and it's for screenplay. It hasn't been. What year did Argo come out? Because if we can get the year on that.
2012.
Okay, so it's been 11 years, and rarely ever before that do you have a film winning Best Picture where the director was not nominated for Best Director. I mean, it's really, really rare that can happen. So I don't know, man.
Look,
That's gonna be tough. That's a tall order.
I think Everything Everywhere or Banshees of Inisherin, that's what I really think is going to happen. One of those two. I give the edge to Everything Everywhere. But if miracles can happen, and like Hans Gruber told Theo, it's Christmas, Theo. It's the time for miracles. That has nothing to do with Top Gun Maverick. But I do believe
and the Oscars are in March.
What's that?
Our Oscars are in March.
I know, of
Christmas.
course. But I'm just saying that the magic of movies, maybe, just maybe. I don't know. Probably not. But wouldn't it be great if it did?
Well, I mean, it would certainly rock the house. Again, I just think if it was going to get that much Oscar love, I think we would have seen a few more nominations. But I do think it's a 3-horse race. Fableman's Everything Everywhere.
Yeah,
I would be thrilled with any of those winners.
Well, there was buzz around potentially Tom Cruise getting a nomination for Best Actor. A lot of people thought it was possible. And when that didn't happen, I think that dream that you're talking about over there went out the window.
You know what? My dreams never go out the window. I hold on.
I'm going to hold on. I'm going to hold on to hope. All right, guys. Hey, so that's the Oscar nominations that we've gone through. What are you guys thinking about them? Which ones are really standing out to you? Was there anybody that you thought that did not get a nomination that you thought legitimately had a shot to win and didn't get nominated on the list? Maybe some things that were there you didn't think should be there, some omissions, whatever you guys think. I think it's not exactly how I would have predicted it, but I thought a very strong lineup nonetheless. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, it's that time that we're going to open up the super chats now and hear from you guys. If you guys got a thought, theory, opinion, who's your ironclad locks to win their different category? I keep wanting to say division because I'm a sports guy. Which division? Who is locked up their division? Whatever you guys think, start firing those in now, but do it fairly quickly because we only leave the super chats open for just a couple of minutes. Now, before we get to those guys, we're going to thank a couple more sponsors of our show here. First of all, keeping Oscar time smoothly shaven, our friends over at Manscaped, and of course, Ryan Reynolds' own Mint Mobile. Hey guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Manscaped. Breaking news, Manscaped now sells beard products. That's right, they are once again revolutionizing men's grooming with the brand new Beard Hedger Pro Kit. Now you can finally use Manscaped products to make your drapes match your carpet by going to manscaped.com and using the code Campea for 20% off and free shipping. It all starts with the Beard Hedger. This thing is a juggernaut of fixing faces. First off, this cordless trimmer has a rotary wheel that gives you 20 hair cutting lengths, all with one guard. So no more messy drawers full of extra add-ons. You also get the beard shampoo and conditioner. Because guys, you gotta remember that all of your hair is different. Your beard hair is more coarse and easier to damage than the hair on your head. Next, the kit has Manscaped's beard oil. The oil relieves dryness both on the beard and the skin beneath. You then cap it off with the Beard Balm that shapes, styles, moisturizes, and tames for a sculpted look. The Pro Beard Kit also comes with 3 special gifts: a beard brush, comb, and scissors to ensure your beard is ready to impress. So get 20% off and free shipping with the code Campea at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use the code Campea. Manscaped Beard Hedger, 1 stroke, 1 guard, 20 lengths. Guys, we want to thank a sponsor of this video, Mint Mobile. If saving more and spending less is one of your top goals for 2023, why are you still paying insane amounts of money every month for your phone bill? Switching to Mint Mobile is the easiest way to save money this year. As the first company to sell premium wireless service online only, Mint Mobile lets you order from home and save a ton, with phone plans starting at just $15 a month. Guys, I have told you before that when I was on one of the major phone carriers, I was spending literally 3 times as much every month, and switching to Mint Mobile couldn't have been easier. So for people just looking to save some extra money this year, Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. All plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and switch easily in just minutes with eSIM. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bill to just $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at Manscaped and, of course, Mint Mobile for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show. All right, guys, we're going to spend the rest of our time here hearing from you, your thoughts, theories, opinions, and questions. You guys filled up the super chats really damn quick, so let's get into them right now, shall we? Rob, what do we got?
Well, as I hold on to my dreams, Jay sends in.
First.
Oh, is that Stephen Allen?
Just send in a super chat badge for $50.
See, my dreams do come true, John.
Your dreams do come true. Just a super chat to be supportive. Thank you so much for that, Stephen. That's incredibly generous of you, man. We appreciate that.
And Jay, thank you for your super chat.
Well.
Very
Thank you,
nice
Jay.
for supporting. 156 Impulse says, you guys should know this question better than anyone. If the late, great John Schnepp was still around, do you think he would have loved Andor and the new Marvel and DC movies and shows?
I feel very confident saying that he would have loved Andor. I think he would have absolutely adored it. But here's the thing, and both you guys can attribute to this. There would be things that would come out that you would not necessarily think Schnepp would be Schnepp's cup of tea, and then find out that he's incredibly passionate about
Paddington.
Yes. What's that? Paddington, for example, right? Like he went with me to that.
Paddington.
We both went
Everyone
in.
loves Paddington.
Like he only went to that as a favor to me because I needed to take a +1 with me, and we were like, "Oh, this is gonna be." Like we were both like, "Paddington is life." I mean, it was amazing. So, I mean, I don't think he would have particularly loved Thor: Love and Thunder.
He would have loved Doctor Strange.
I think he would have loved Doctor Strange because there's a bonkersness to it, right? I think there's something in there that I don't know. What do you think?
But you know, John was more, because he loved comics so much, he was more predisposed to wanting to love things than not like them.
Yes.
So when it came to comic book material, I think that he would have embraced all of it, but he would have liked certain things a lot more than he liked other things. Like I think he would have loved WandaVision.
Oh yeah.
He would have loved WandaVision. He probably would have really liked Falcon and Winter Soldier. I think he would have maybe problems with it, but the serious approach, and I think he would have liked the performances. She-Hulk, I think he might have found disappointing, but I think he would have liked it more than most people.
Christian, what do you think?
Yeah, same. I think I could see him definitely, his sense of humor with She-Hulk. I think he would have dove more into the comic side of it. Absolutely. But I think I always had this thing where, and I don't know, it's just because that year was very tough for me in general because John passed in, I think it was July, and then my brother passed just
I remember that
a couple months, like a month and a half later. So it was really rough. So I remember being at Endgame, watching that movie and watching that scene when all the heroes came, and call me sentimental or spiritual, whatever it was. I felt like the big man was sitting next to me watching it. I felt like that energy when all those characters, that's a type of scene he would have loved. He would have lost his mind when that particular scene hit and all the heroes came out and on your left, and that's when I felt him with me on that one.
I have to say, to second that, I sat next to him at Infinity War.
Yeah, I think I was with you guys,
and it was like sitting next to a live wire.
Yeah.
And when you heard the faux Hugo Weaving voice for the Red Skull, we both looked at each other like, oh my God.
My jaw was in my lap.
I mean, it was so one of the great regrets of my life is that I didn't get to hear John Schnepp wax rhapsodic about Endgame.
Yeah.
He would have, like you said, lost his mind.
Let me ask you this: which one do you think he would have not liked the most? Like out of everything that's come out,
Thor.
Yeah,
Thor.
Probably
because
Thor,
he
right?
loved Thor. He loved like Simonson's Thor. Mm-hmm. I think he would have been just perplexed by it. I think.
I remember right when you went into the hospital, and this is a little off topic. I was sitting in a screening of Dwayne Johnson's, what was it called? The one, the building on fire, Skyscraper?
Skyscraper.
Yeah.
Skyscraper. I was sitting in a screening of Skyscraper, and the three of us were in this chat triangle about like what's going on with Schnepp. And I sat specifically right beside the exit. So, because every time I could feel the buzz go off in my pocket with the phone, I would get up, step around the corner. Okay, this is going on. This is going on. I just remember that night, all three of us being on that chat.
Well, I mean, he was not feeling well. I remember, I want to say we did a Monday show because I think we were doing Heroes every day at that point. And he just, you could tell that something was off, and he's saying he didn't feel well. And
anyway, we could go down this rabbit hole all day.
Yeah.
But anyway, good question, man. Thanks for writing that in. We appreciate that.
I think he would have dug Andor too.
I think
I
he really would have liked
He
that.
would have really liked Andor.
All right, what's next?
Alex 007 says, thanks for showing Bardo some love, Rob. Well, if you watch the John Campea channel and you go to the Designing Hollywood podcast, Anna Terrazas, who is the costume designer for Bardo, is interviewed on our
right.
channel.
What's her name?
Anna Terrazas. It was very funny because when I interviewed her, she when I first talked to her about her, how do you pronounce? I always ask how to pronounce their names. I didn't roll my R's enough. Because you need to roll your R's a little bit more. Yeah. So that's why I say Anna Terrazas. And she loved it. She loved it.
All right, let's keep going here. What's
way.
next? That's you.
Oh, that's me, Victor 501. I'm still thinking about Anna. Terrazas. Anna Terrazas. Well, thrilled for Paul Mescal. Pardon me. This comes from Victor 5001. Says, thrilled for Paul Mescal for Aftersun, but gutted. Oh, I know. No Danielle Deadweiler for Till. We talked about this yesterday. Her performance was...
It was fantastic. But that's the thing about the Oscars, right? It's not about you deserve an award, right?
Yeah.
Because I think there are probably 9 or 10 that deserve a nomination, but there are only 5 spots.
Right.
And depending on how and let's be honest, again, with my definition of snub, she was not going to win, right? Like she wasn't going to win this category. But I had her on my list. I had her on, if you remember, yes, I had her on my list. I thought she'd be getting one of the nominations. But listen, there's a lot of super talent on that list, and
I think that movie, I think Till was a movie that was also criminally underseen this year.
Right.
And the reason that I watched it was because I had heard a story about it on NPR coming home one night. And I'm like, oh, I got to see this. It's an incredible movie, and she delivers just a heartbreakingly great performance. It's
All right.
terrific.
What's next?
Sam Fisher says, are you going to do an Oscars live stream?
I think I probably will this year. Yeah, I think, I haven't done it in a couple years, but I think we'll do a live Oscar stream this year. Don't hold me to that 100% because there's a possibility I may not be in country. You guys know a lot of last year, my mom has had health issues. She's still in the hospital. She had another operation the other day. Went really well. And I'm just waiting for my passport renewal to go through.
You and me both.
And then I'll be getting on a plane and going up to Canada for a bit. So it all depends on how fast I'm able to get my passport renewed because I'm probably going to leave pretty quickly. But other than that, I am planning on doing an Oscar live stream. All right, what's next?
Jay says, hi, gang. Comparing sitcoms of today to the sitcoms of the 80s and 90s, have they gotten better, worse, or the same?
They're different. They're just different, right? There are comedies today. Television today is basically different. You don't see your standard filmed in front of a live studio audience kind of sitcom sort of thing as much. So it's a little bit different, but there's great comedy that has been on television the last couple of years. The greatest comedies of all time, I still think, are like Seinfeld, Office, Parks and Rec, things like. I know, Christian, what do you think about that? How would you compare like the comedies on television over the generations?
It depends because, as you said, it just changed so much over the last couple of. You look at like the when I was growing up, like Cheers.
Yeah.
And those shows don't work today. They just don't. Like the studio audience. I think they're doing a studio audience with that 90s show, right?
I think they're doing it with the new Night Court renewal too.
Right. So I'm not saying that they don't do it at all, but it's kind of a forgotten thing, and I'm also not saying that it can't make a comeback. It just seems so out of place these days. And there's like you mentioned Parks and Rec and shows like that. And I remember one of the
Abbott
first
Elementary is one that's like that right now.
Yeah.
That's the Parks and Rec kind of vein.
Well, it's single camera shot. I remember the show that to me that got me going, oh, this could be really the change of it. I know there might have been shows before it, but My Name is Earl, like the first I
remember that.
The first season of My Name is Earl are really great. And then it just went downhill. But the first season of it was really good show and showed like what comedies could be because it was still playing in that playground with all the studio audience shows. Yeah. I think it just changes what people want and generations, right? Like if you sat down again, I use my 11-year-old as an example. If you sat her down to try to watch one of those old school shows, it's not going to play to her the way that it played to us when we were kids.
Yeah, but there's still a lot of great ones today. Ted Lasso, Schitt's Creek, Kim's Convenience, Abbott Elementary. Like there's some really good comedies right now.
But the ones on TV, a lot of the slots are taken over by like the reality shows, right? I think a lot of them
they have to be now.
Well, yeah.
Because they're so expensive, those things that's why a lot of the networks do the reality TV shows because they're cheaper to make. You don't have to pay the talent hardly any. Look at The Bachelor. Bachelor's been on the show for 75 years, and it's like, and the reason why is because you can
so inexpensive to make. All right, we need to keep going here.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Suthius says, I may be a little biased, but how awesome is it that there are 4 Asian actors or actresses nominated for an Oscar this year? I can't think of any other instances where this has happened, let alone with 2.
I meant to bring that up earlier because we talked about it before the show started that this is the first year in Oscar history where 4 Asian performers are nominated in the performance things at the same time, which I mean, that's incredible for it. It's definitely significant.
It is significant.
And I love and a couple of them, by the way, have very legitimate chances of winning.
Yes.
So it's going to be interesting to see how this pans out.
It's very cool.
All right, what's next?
Josh Becker says, Danielle Deadweiler definitely got snubbed, in my opinion.
Again, if it depends on how you define snub. I don't know anybody who thought she had, I thought she was going to be nominated. She was on my prediction list. That being said, she had no chance of winning, so I don't really call it a snub.
Also, I think this film just wasn't promoted. People didn't see it. It was just a movie that
the argument against that.
Bill Nye and Living, and
the argument against that is Andrew Riceborough. Nobody saw Till.
Brian Tyree Hill's film, right?
More people saw Till than they did.
I call him Hill, Henry. I don't know why I call him Hill. All right, what's next?
Al Renshaw says, "I am raising my hands with Rob and Christian."
Right.
About the gospel of Top Gun, everybody. The gospel of Top Gun.
Dreams can come true.
All right, what's next?
Drew says, watched Tar last night, and for the most part, I enjoyed it, but I felt stupid watching it. I didn't completely understand. I feel if I did, I'd enjoy it more. Bring on the filthy.
Okay, I will say this. It's not a complicated movie to follow, but it's a story where the nuances are hitting you very quickly. And if you look away for too long, I could find that you could very easily go, okay, now it's just people talking, right? Sort of a movie. How would you describe it?
Well, no, I think you're right. I mean, look, it's more of a literary movie in the sense that, you know what I mean? And it was a lot like Todd Field's. He did In the Bedroom, and then he did Little Children, and then he did Tar, and he hadn't made a movie since 2006. And I do think this is very much more of a it's more like literature as opposed to a pop culture movie.
My wife and I watched it, and my wife kind of bailed on it a little earlier, and only because she's like, look, I get it. You really got to lock into this. I'm going to sleep. She's like, but then she's like, the problem was there's a Mark Strong and Cate Blanchett scene right in the beginning, and they're sitting at lunch together. She's like, I felt like I was sitting at these people's table listening to a convection they wanted me to have no part of.
That's a great way to describe it. I love that.
It was really great. And she's like, I just felt like I was in on, like, I wasn't part of the conversation, but I was listening to all of it.
All right, what's next?
Wow, that's really okay. Al Renshaw says, I'm secretly hoping for Everything Everywhere All at Once a sweep. I want Yo and Kei Hu Kwan to win so badly. I'm imagining Kei hugging Spielberg and Yo when he wins.
I mean, it was really great. I mean, at the Useless Golden Globes, it was really, really inspiring to see him get up there and like he's there. He's got Steven Spielberg there and say, "There's a guy who gave him my first job." I mean, that's incredible. And look, it is the feel-good story of the year.
Yeah. So
it'd be fun to see. All right, what's next?
Devin Linda says, Top Gun Maverick was the movie to bring people out of homes. I could see that winning.
Listen, it absolutely was. It was the movie. I mean, look, we had others. Spider-Man, No Way Home. Top Gun, though, was that film that got the over 40 audience to come back into the movie theaters and stuff like that as well. Totally significant. But again, a film that doesn't get nominated for Best Director, the percentage chance of that film, just that alone makes the chance of winning extremely low, especially considering it only had one nomination out of the big 8 categories. Yeah. It's very unlikely, but that doesn't take away from the phenomenal success that the movie was.
It's true.
All right, what's next?
For the dream. Brandon Nazmuddin says, I know she never really had a chance, but Mia Goth really deserved a nomination for Pearl. Her monologue in that movie was insanely good.
I have to excuse myself from this because I didn't like X, so I didn't watch Pearl. But I've heard nothing but good things about her performance in it. Did either of you guys see Pearl?
I haven't seen Pearl yet.
Okay, but I've heard nothing but good things, but I can't give real commentary.
I'm all about her performance in Infinity Pool. That's what I'm looking forward to.
I've read a review for that this morning, by the way.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
You know what I'm talking about. Dominant Media says, since Daniel Day-Lewis retired, it makes me sad that we will never get the greatest actor and the greatest actress, Meryl Streep, in a movie together. Man, that would be a great movie just by the acting alone.
By the way, Dominant Media sending in a $20 super chat. Thank you so much for that, man. Look, I keep hoping that he pulls a Jay-Z, where it's like, I'm retired, no, I'm back. I'm really, really hoping that at some point, whether it's Spielberg or Scorsese or hell, even a Tarantino might give him a call, say, listen, I got something that might interest you. And if it's a character now there were rumors about him maybe having some health issues, but I haven't heard anything confirming that. But I don't know, Chris, we ever going to see Daniel Day-Lewis back? I got a feeling we won't.
He doesn't seem like a guy that, he seems like once he says something, he sticks with it.
Yeah.
It's the same way Gene Hackman. Gene Hackman took off. Gene Hackman didn't come back. Yeah, I'd love to see him come back, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah. Oh God, he is the Bret Hart of acting. Best there is, best there was, best there ever will be. All right, what's next?
Josh Becker says Babylon is definitely winning. Score electrifying.
We didn't go over the score.
We didn't.
Things like that.
I could see it winning.
I could see Babylon winning score. The music is like frantic and everything. It's incredible. All right, what's next?
Nelson Alfaro says it's a long shot, but it will be nice seeing Tom Cruise winning an Oscar for a producer. Greetings from Costa Rica.
By the way, does Cruise not have an Oscar?
Didn't you win it for Born on 4th of July?
No.
It was either Born on 4th of July or Magnolia.
No, he definitely didn't win for Magnolia. But
Yeah. Check Tom Cruise's awards page.
One?
I know he's got a couple of nominations.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was nominated for Born on the 4th of July.
Maybe
He definitely had some Golden Globes that he shipped back to.
Supporting actor, best picture.
He won Best Supporting Actor?
No, let me check.
He's checking that. All right, let's keep going while Ray's looking that up.
Nelson Alfaro says it's a long shot.
Nope, just did that.
Zach Taylor says 20,099 days, 20,099 days since the Maple Leafs win a meaningful playoff game.
Oh, no, they've won many meaningful playoff games, but it's been over 50 years since they have been to the Stanley Cup final. Not won the Stanley Cup, just been in the Stanley Cup final. The most celebrated franchise in the history of hockey. My team has not been to the Stanley Cup my entire lifetime. The entire time I've been on Earth drawing breath, they have never been to the Stanley Cup final.
He's only been nominated 4 times.
That's just, he's been nominated 4 times, but never won.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's part of the reason, like, misery loves company. So when I get to see the Dallas Cowboys choke, I was kind of a conversation with a friend of mine. I said, well, at least the Cowboys knocked out your Tom Brady. I'm like, yeah, Tom Brady's got more rings on his finger than the entire Dallas Cowboy franchise's history, so he'll be fine. But listen, as a long-suffering Maple Leaf fan, it brings me sadistic joy when I get to see teams I don't like lose. But I'm always aware that there's nothing worse than being a Maple Leafs fan, because that is the definition of long-suffering, my friend. All right, what's next?
Sam Fisher says, nowhere on my ballot card did I have a Triangle of Sadness getting a Best Picture nom.
It wasn't on mine either, but there were a number of the significant award season lists that did. So I'm not surprised.
That
to see
film's
it there.
great too.
Yeah,
it's great.
I was very late to the party on it, but it's pretty
great.
terrific.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Jay says, send in a super chat and says, Screen Rant put out a most powerful Jedi list. 1, Yoda. 2, Luke. 3, Rey. 4, Obi-Wan. 5, Mace. 6, Qui-Gon. 7, Anakin. 8, Ki-Adi-Mundi. 9, Kit Fisto, and 10, Luminara. Your thoughts?
Christian?
Depends on the Anakin part of it. Are you including Anakin as far, everything that he's done in his career, or are you just talking about him as a Jedi? Even as a Jedi, I put him a little higher up on the list. But can you throw that list back up there for a second? I would definitely have, Yoda, I think, is number 1. I think Obi-Wan is ranked a little too high. I think Obi-Wan's made a lot of stupid mistakes in his career. But other than that, looks pretty decent. I definitely put Anakin a little higher.
I do too, especially when you consider go back to the scene where Yoda and Palpatine are fighting, and they start talking about Anakin, and Palpatine says in the movie, that guy over there, he's going to be more powerful than both of us. So I would definitely have him much higher on that list.
I also want to clarify the Tom Cruise thing. He's been nominated 3 times, but 4 times if you include this year's Best Picture nomination.
Okay. So 3 acting nominations. Yeah. All right. I knew you had a couple nominations.
That's interesting.
All right. What's next?
In my humble opinion review says, I'm calling it right now. Banshees will go home empty-handed.
That's the thing about this year. That's not inconceivable.
No.
Because, look, let's go through it. Best Picture, well, it's up against Fabelmans. It's up against Everything Everywhere All at Once. It could easily lose. Look at Colin Farrell. Well, he's up against Brendan Fraser. He's up against Butler. I mean, he could easily lose. You look at Brendan Gleeson. He's in that category, but he's up against Ke Huy Quan, so he could lose that. Michelle Yeoh, she's in the same category as Cate Blanchett. She could easily lose that. Listen, it is not inconceivable that Banshees of Inisherin could stand up there with 7 Oscars at the end of the night, practically sweeping, and it's also not inconceivable that it can absolutely leave there empty-handed.
Yep.
That's how tight it is this year. So it could be.
I agree.
All right, what's next?
Mr. Hank Dunn says, still pissed Circus didn't get a nom for War of the Planet of the Apes. In my opinion, he was leagues better than Oldman in Darkest Hour.
Hey, listen, you won't get any argument out of me that I thought Andy Serkis did deserve a look at an actual acting nomination for what he did in those last couple Planet of the Apes movies. Yeah, but I take exception about the Gary Oldman thing. Yeah. That was Gary Oldman's. Before that point, Gary Oldman was the de facto best actor in the world without an Oscar on his mantle. And he absolutely, I believe, deserved it for that movie. His performance in that was, I don't know, Christian, what do you think?
I'm honest. Look, I don't know if you can find a bigger Andy Serkis fan than me. He's one of my favorite actors on the planet. I love the dude, and I agree that he should have been nominated. He didn't have a better performance than Gary Oldman. That was an absolutely just riveting performance by Oldman. I watched that movie like 3 times. It was so good.
Some Mare Girl in the live chat is saying Oldman seemed a little over the top
Churchill was over the
But
top.
I was going to say, that's the thing.
Yeah.
He was playing Churchill. Like that was Churchill. All right, what's next?
Sylvester Young with a $20 super
Thank
chat
you, Sylvester.
says, I know the news dropped about William Jackson Harper playing Quaz in Quantum Mania. I have a theory that I want your input on. What if he is playing the descendant Nathaniel Richards that Kang gets his namesake from? Bring on the filthy.
Look, it's all going to depend on how they cast Fantastic Four. Right? I mean, that will tell us a lot about whether or not that's really a possibility. I don't think they're going that direction.
Yeah, I don't even.
I mean, it's definitely a possibility. I don't think they're going that direction.
I mean, I think there's a lot that's going to happen in Quantum Mania, but we can't get too deep in the woods or in the weeds in terms of where this stuff's going. I think it's going to be more direct than we know.
All right. What's next?
More straightforward. AK Film says, what a day for Indian cinema. 3 Indian titles have been nominated today. Best Song, Best Documentary Feature, and Short Film. Hope people are going to start looking at Indian cinema a whole new way.
Listen, I was watching on Twitter, and I follow a bunch of stuff on Twitter, and there was a lot of I mean, look, on the one hand, there's a lot of RRR fans that were hoping that that film itself will get a few more of the nods.
Right.
But it didn't. But you're right. Like, as a whole, it was spread out a little bit more I think we said this ever since the AMC days. Christian, I remember when we were still back at AMC and we were looking at developing, we were trying to hire at the time somebody to run a movie talk that was specifically going to be about films from that part of the world, because we knew back then that this is going to be an area that really grows over the next 20 years. And I think we're starting to see that come to fruition. I think a lot of these films that come from that part of the world are going to become more and more considered sort of mainstream.
Yeah. I mean, well, it's also with the addition of the streaming platforms as well to bring it into the house. I mean, RRR is a prime example of that, right? Where you have, I remember someone had reached out to me about that movie and said, hey, you need to watch it because it's on Netflix. And that's why I watched it the other night. I watched it on Netflix and I loved it. And it was, and it's normally it would be 10 years ago harder to find. Right. And I think that's what has the streaming has definitely, some people will say maybe theatrically has hurt the movie industry. Right. But in the very positive way, streaming has brought in movies like this and other movies into people's homes that they normally wouldn't find and way more accessible.
I was talking to a friend of mine the other day who said he felt Indian cinema is going to become the new K-pop, where like K-pop just suddenly, I mean, on paper, has no business being popular in North America, but it swept, right? And that maybe Indian cinema could become that next thing. Anyway,
all I know is The Quiet Earth 2 is in theaters this week, and I'm very excited.
I thought you were going to say something about Blackpink, but I'm glad you went that way instead.
Only because it's another movie. You know, it's Chinese, it's not Indian, but it's still East or Asian cinema. We need more of it.
All right, what's next?
Stub McShave says, a bad dad joke in honor of Christian.
Please.
You're American when you enter and when you exit the toilet. What are you when you're in there?
European.
I like it.
I'm laughing at Christian's reaction.
Yeah, that's the best.
Wow.
It's the same way. It's like knock, knock.
Who's there?
Europe.
Europe who?
No, you are. I tell that to my 5-year-old. It kills. I'm here all day. Thank you.
All right, what's next?
God. And I thought we were away from these. Thanks a lot, Stubble. Rachel Knight Online says, on the subject of Cruise and Spielberg, why did people hate War of the Worlds so much? Movie terrified me as a kid.
You can count me amongst those who enjoyed War of the Worlds. I watched it again after Ann and I went to Universal Studios Hollywood for the first time. And they've actually, you can be on the set of where they shot the scene after the plane crashes. They've actually got the busted up plane there at Universal. You can walk right up to it. It's kind of crazy. So being there made me watch the movie again. It's not great. It's not Spielberg's weakest film, and I certainly still enjoyed it, but it also had a lot to do with this. Yeah, that's exactly the set there. It also had a little bit to do at the time. You got to remember, this is before Tropic Thunder. And Tropic Thunder, a lot of people forget, like they forget that Robert Downey Jr. was kind of on the outs with all of Hollywood and all the fandom and everything for a while until Iron Man came along. Tom Cruise's popularity started to wane a lot. He had done some some kooky things in public, that whole jumping up and down on Oprah's couch, and a number of the
Some
other
of those
things.
interviews and stuff. Yeah.
A lot of strange interviews, and the public at that point was kind of starting to turn on Tom Cruise, and I think that had a little bit to do with it. And then along came Tropic Thunder, which completely resurrected his career.
But I think War of the Worlds, the first 45 minutes of War of the Worlds is incredible. When those alien machines start coming out of the ground and everyone's running, and
The sound of it is
I was about to say
terrifying.
the sound.
Terrifying.
the whole thing is, and then the whole scene, the show-stopping scene on the ferry, and then the movie doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Then they're stuck in the basement.
Well, it's silly too. The son runs off to Boston, and then he's just fine. He shows up at the end. He's just at an apartment
it's
watching
a movie
cable.
that needed a whole new second act. But I'll tell you something. I can't tell you how many times I've watched the first 45 minutes of that movie. It's masterful.
The first half an hour of it, I thought we were in for. I remember seeing it in the theater, going, "Oh, this is going to be amazing," and then I felt the same way at the end of it. I was like, "This is stupid."
It goes nowhere.
All right, what's next?
Luis Enrique de la Peña says, wouldn't make the Oscars shorter and better to stream the lesser-known awards on YouTube?
Hey, listen, this is why we can't have good things. I was on the side of the Oscar producers last year of taking some of the awards that, look, I don't mean to be cruel. I'm just saying a fact.
Don't be cruel.
I'm just saying a fact. There are categories at the Oscars that the general movie-going audience care less about. And they tried something where they filmed those awards being thing off live air, then played them giving their acceptance speech, and it did move the show along a little bit faster, and I thought it worked perfectly well. However, a bunch of people who have never spoken about those categories at all suddenly were very passionate about those categories. Oh, it's a disrespectful, whatever. I was all for the way they did it last year. I would be perfectly good with the way they did it last year, but I think streaming those ones on a separate broadcast, even I think that might be going too far. I don't know, Christian, what do you think about that whole
No,
thing?
you got to keep it on if you're going to do because the reason they brought it back too is for that reason alone. They didn't want the headache. It's like it's like bring it back. It's fine, but what they need to do with it, the same thing they need to do with Comic-Con, which is another conversation inside of the presentations, is make it a damn show. Like, don't just have somebody come out. They don't just have somebody do a monologue and a couple of musical acts. Make it a show. Make it something entertaining that people want to watch. Because when you make it inside of this Hollywood bubble, people now with when you can record it, they fast forward. That's what I do. I fast forward through a lot of the crap because it's like I don't need to hear. If I want to hear you talk politics, I'll follow you on Twitter. I don't need this. I don't need that. I just want to watch the actual show. I want to hear. It should be a movie celebration in general.
Yeah,
is what it should be. And sometimes it just goes off in these tangents, and they go out and it gets boring. It gets really like they bring out the Academy president. I don't know who you are. Put
and
that
we don't
person
care
on YouTube. I don't care. Well, today we're going to talk about it. Shut up, Lou. And it's like I want to see just a movie presentation, the big musical acts, and make it a show. And as far as these other things that are being celebrated, but do it creatively, do it funny.
Like,
I want to see more
hate-
PricewaterhouseCoopers accountants come out.
Oh yeah, it's like why do we care? We don't care. Listen, as much as I criticize, rightfully so, that the Golden Globes are absolutely useless and stupid. That said, they put on a better show because I was paying no attention to the Golden Globes. I was in my office working, but every time I'd come out in the living room, because Ann was watching it, every time I came out into the living room, there was interesting stuff happening on screen. It was never time filler or anything like that. It was Ki-Hu Kwan is standing up there giving his acceptance speech, or it was a presenter calling out the nominations for the next award, and it just moved.
You know what I loved about the Critics' Choice Awards, by the way? And I know some people didn't like this, but when they announced the best supporting actor, best supporting actress, they both come up, wrap it up, get lost.
I hated that.
I get it, but it's like, look, they're both up there, wrap it up, say what you got to say, and beat it.
Get the hell out. I mean, if you're gonna bring out the president of the Academy, you got to get
Lou.
Yeah,
Lou.
Lou needs.
It's all about Lou. All right, what's next?
This is why we need the Muppets to host the Oscars.
Hey, I'm down. I'll watch it.
Pitch for a long time.
Quality Not Included says, based Rob strikes again. The Oscars nominated Top Gun for Best Picture as the biggest brain play they've ever made. People would lose their ever-loving artsy-fartsy minds if that film won. Fingers crossed.
Well, yeah, but time out for a second. People would lose their artsy fartsy. These are the same people who nominated it to be Best Picture. Like,
true.
I mean, like, don't lose sight of that. These are the same people who gave it the nomination. It's not like if it won, it would be sticking it to those guys. Oh, those guys who gave it the award.
And they would have voted for it, right?
Yeah, and they would have voted for
right.
it. So, I mean, that's the way. But listen, again, we had our buddy Cliff in here a couple weeks ago to make a case for why Top Gun deserves a Best Picture award. He's the one who won me over to it because I didn't think it deserved a Best Picture nomination a number of months ago. And it was Cliff laying out his argument that made me go, you know what? You're right. It does deserve a Best Picture nomination. It totally got me on board with it. But I don't believe it deserves Best Picture. But I'm totally happy, and I totally believe it deserved a nomination.
Cool if it won, though.
Yes, it would.
All right, what's next?
Wayne Edwards with a $20 super chat says, I'm also someone who didn't care for Banshees. All the male characters are idiots who handle their issues in the most illogical ways I could think of. Carrie Condon's great, though.
I'll tell you what, though. A movie really connects with me when I have known that guy, and I have known that guy. Not some of the more extreme things that happened in the movie, granted, but I mean, I have known that guy, and it just makes it feel very real to me. I think that's why I chuckle a little bit when I hear non-Italians criticize Jared Leto's performance in House of Gucci, when I'm like, that's cool and everything, but I am Italian, and I've been to a lot of Uncle Romolo's big family get-togethers, and that guy on screen is very real.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I mean,
no. He was playing Luigi, for God's sake.
Some of my, seriously, you come to one of my family get-togethers with my great uncles, like my grandfather.
Oh, look at me.
My grandfather, Giovanni, came over on the boat. He's the oldest brother, and he came over with his 4 brothers, Carlo, Vincenzo, Romolo, and Sergarlo. And I'm telling you, that's them. And on top of that, at the family get-togethers, Uncle Romolo, great Uncle Romolo to me, Uncle Romolo, pull out the accordion, right? And then all the uncles will pull out the accordion. They would have fucking jam sessions with accordions.
Top
and all
Gun
that kind
going
of,
to win Best Picture.
Yeah, I'm telling you, that was my family get-togethers, man. All right, what's next?
Oh man.
Black Rice 19 says, Blonde was awful. Very disappointed Danielle Deadweiler didn't get in for Till as opposed to Ana de Armas. Her performance was strong in a better movie.
I disagree. I thought difficult, yes. But I also felt it was like an artist telling a very, very troubling story. And I listen, I don't think it was one of the best films of the year. But here's the thing. Ana de Armas's performance in it was remarkable, like to the point that you had other actors at other award shows when they would get up. It's happened at least twice, once with Colin Farrell. Like they're getting up to accept their awards for their own movie, and twice this year on the award circuit, an actor stopped to go, by the way, Ana de Armas, you inspired me in that. Like I was like, I couldn't believe, like, and SAG, the Screen Actors Guild, they've given her the nomination as well at the SAG Awards for Best Lead Actress. I listen, we can talk about people who didn't get nominations. Man, it's a real shame. Maybe they deserved it. But to me, there's no valid argument that Ana de Armas did not deserve one of these Academy Awards.
Sandra Bullock got nominated for the Razzie and the Oscar in the same year for different roles. Is this the first time ever, maybe I'm that an actor and actress has been nominated for Razzie and an Academy Award in the same performance?
Ooh,
That's a good one.
I think it would have to be.
It has to be, right?
Yeah.
I've never heard of that before. The same performance. Like I remember when Sandra Bullock was nominated for the same year, and she actually accepted her award at both. I think at the Razzie.
And Halle Berry was the first to do that.
Right.
But she won on back-to-back years. She won Best Actress on one year, then Razzie the next year.
Yeah. But I don't know if that's ever happened before.
Whereas for the same role, I don't think it has. All right, what's next?
Alejandro Santana says, thoughts on All Quiet being nominated for Best Picture and Best Foreign Language Film.
Well, I mean, it's very reminiscent of when the Roberto Benigni masterpiece, Life is Beautiful, was nominated for Best Picture and for Best Foreign Film. It kind of makes the Best Foreign Film category the most anticlimactic award of the night, because when only one of the nominees of Best Foreign Film is also nominated for Best Picture, well, we know who's going to win. But I think listen, I had it on my list. I'm not surprised at all.
Nope.
All right, what's next?
All right, I found an answer to that question, Christian. According to Wikipedia, 3 actors have received an Oscar and a Razzie for the same role.
Oh, okay.
James Coco in Only When I Laugh, Amy Irving in Yenti or Yentl? I can't
Yentl.
tell.
Yentl?
And then, Glenn Close for a Hillbilly Elegy. That was like a couple
Oh,
years ago.
that's right. I forgot about that one. Boy, people hated that movie. That's Taylor pulling up the stats for me there.
Nice.
All right, what's next?
Wicked Man says All Quiet for Best Picture and also Andrea Riseborough for Best Actress.
Well, I know, Christian, you were really happy about seeing Andrea getting that nomination.
I love it. I mean, I don't think enough people, like Edward Norton tweeted out about Andrea Riseborough's performance, by the way, also, and he said, I don't normally tweet out about performances a lot of times, but this was something else. More people need to pay attention to this. I hope that people will watch this, especially the Academy voters, watch it and then vote.
Is the movie good?
It's really good, man, and it goes in a different way than I thought it would. I really liked it a lot.
All right, is that it?
That's it.
Well, guys, hot damn, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Oscar, heavy stuff here. We're glad you guys came along and joined us for the ride. Thank you so much for being here and making this show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent on those super chats, number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. Also, let you guys know a little bit later today at 3 p.m. Los Angeles time, that's 6 p.m. New York time, we're going to be having an open mic, and we hope if you guys are around and want to come by and hang out with us as we talk a little bit more about all this stuff, come on by and join us. All right. I want to thank everybody in the room with me. Sitting over here, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Back there, of course, has been Ray Ora. In the background there was running the show. We got Jonathan Voico and Taylor up there in the cockpit right now. And of course, Christian Harloff was here as well. Always good having Christian here. Most importantly, thank you to you guys. My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.